It's Neeley and Chris right here on your classic metal show with all fairs in love and war. You know something about that, don't you, Chris?
Yeah, I apparently do. I wrote books about it, or a book.
That's right. I should dedicate that to your book.
Yeah, there you go. That was dedicated to Little Victories.
Exactly.
Whatever it was.
That's right. All right, you're back.
Do I sound good?
You sound like you should.
Yeah, I rebooted everything. The router, the computer, the board, everything.
Yeah, you got all fucky sounding.
Yeah, it was weird. All of a sudden I was underwater.
Yeah. All right, well, you know, being that legislation and activism and everything seems to be the rule of the day.
Yeah.
Now that this whole gay thing is legalized, I guess.
Yeah. Ass fucking is legal.
Right. A Ford worker is fired for anti-gay comments.
Oh, boy.
And sues for religious discrimination.
Really?
Yeah, so this is the road it's going down.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, well, you know, again, people did not have an objection to gay marriage solely on, I don't want to see two of the same sex people together.
Right.
There was a lot more extenuating circumstances, and now this kind of shit's going to be happening all the time.
Of course.
So anyway, the underlying message here is homosexual behavior leads to death.
Leads to death?
Yeah, okay. So I'll elaborate.
All right.
A former Ford Motor Company engineer says in a lawsuit that the automaker violated his religious freedom when it fired him for posting an anti-gay comment on the company's website.
On the company's website?
Yeah, see, this is where he made a big mistake.
Right, okay.
You know, you can have your religious freedom, and people don't realize that religious freedom doesn't have to do with your job. You know, aside from not being hired because of it or being persecuted because of it.
Right.
But you don't need to force your religious beliefs through company media.
Right. Why would you even think that was acceptable?
Well, I don't know, but people who are zealots, they think that it's open season, that they can voice their viewpoint, their ideology anywhere they're involved with.
Right, anywhere they damn well please.
Yeah, and that's just wrong. It's just like, yeah, you can have your beliefs and you can worship in your own way and do all these other things, but when it comes to corporate things, that's not. It's just like posting on, you know, the company Facebook your religious ideology or whatever.
Right.
You know,
perfect.
Ford Motor Company engineer says in a lawsuit that the automaker violated his religious freedom when it fired him for posting an anti-gay comment on the company website.
Well, he's going to lose that lawsuit, but go ahead.
I know, stupid. I mean, that right there tells a story.
Yeah, he did it on the company's page. What an idiot.
Yeah. Thomas Banks of Michigan described himself in the federal lawsuit filed Friday as a Christian who worked for Ford as an assignment to Rapid Global Business Solutions for 3 years.
Okay.
A year ago, Banks commented on Ford's intranet celebrating the 20th anniversary of Globe, a group fostering an inclusive workplace for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender employees, saying Ford has no place promoting sodomy or immoral sexual conduct and should be thoroughly ashamed. Banks claimed the article was an assault on his religious beliefs.
But you know what? That is interesting. Because if they were putting it up on their site, if they put it up there first, why couldn't he have a negative connotation to it?
Right.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So it's like they're forcing you, you could say, well, then just don't read the company website. But the thing is just, it's almost like forcing you to accept it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's weird because the company policy might be to accept, taking a globe in your ass or whatever that thing was called. But that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And yes, this is historic, but not in a good way, Banks wrote. Never in the history of mankind has a culture survived that promotes sodomy. Heterosexual behavior creates life. Homosexual behavior leads to death.
How does it lead to death?
Well, I think it's like I think it's the whole burning in hell thing. You're damned to hell.
Okay.
From a religious viewpoint.
Right.
The article, which does not address sodomy or other sex acts, is still online, though no comments are visible to the public. Let's see. This is his comment. For this, Ford Motor should be thoroughly ashamed. Endorsing and promoting sodomy is of benefit to no one. This topic is disruptive to the workplace, and it is an assault on Christians and morality, as well as anti-ethical in our design and our survival. Immoral sexual conduct should not be a topic for an automotive manufacturer to endorse or promote. And yes, this is historic, but not in a good way. Never in the history of mankind has a culture survived that promotes sodomy. Heterosexual behavior creates life, and homosexual behavior leads to death.
All right, well, he should have stopped a little sooner than that statement.
Right.
But I take back my statement that he doesn't have a case. I think he does have a case.
Well, he filed a lawsuit.
I hope he wins, too.
Yeah, nearly 2 weeks later, supervisors from both companies told Banks his comments violated Ford's anti-harassment policy and had fired him.
Yeah, but he's going to... Okay, so he's countering that they harassed him.
Right. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, all right. He's got a case.
Yeah. The companies acted intentionally out of malice or reckless disregard of Banks' federally protected rights, and the lawsuit alleges. Ford and Rapid Global Business Solutions weren't immediately available for comment. The companies have yet answered the lawsuit in court.
Right.
Banks earlier filed a claim with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which declined to pursue it. At the time, Ford said in a statement that the matter is ultimately between the individual and their agency employer, Rapid Global Business Solutions. The lawsuit says Banks was legally an employee of both companies. Okay. Hail and kill, caller, you're on the air.
You really think anybody would have read the article if he hadn't commented on it and gotten fired and raised such a ruckus?
Say that one more time.
Do you think anybody would have read the article if he hadn't commented on it and got fired over it and raised such a hell?
Well, again, this goes back to something Chris said a week ago. I believe it was last week, that when you start giving these kind of things power and credibility, then it becomes an issue. But if you just ignore it, it would just go away.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can go along with that. I mean, the article that originally posted on the Ford site is just basically a puff piece that got off the wire, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. But they still posted it on the company website, which is supposed to be,
obviously with company approval.
Yeah, absolutely. So he felt he felt that he was being assaulted and forced to accept this quote unquote behavior or whatever, and it goes against his religious beliefs.
He's basically a milder version of Westboro Baptist. He's hiding behind his religion to basically be a loudmouth asshole.
Well, perhaps. But everybody's always looking for an angle. But the thing is the guy lost his job over this. Now he didn't.
There's probably something in the employee manual that says you can't do that sort of thing.
Well, they said that he, by posting that, he's harassing, is what they said.
And his answer is going to be, well, they harassed me with this sexual deviancy on the company intranet.
And he won't be able to prove that they were.
Well, they fired the first shot by posting that. That's the thing. He didn't go out on a tirade just on his own and put something out on the website. He just commented on something that they posted.
You know what it's really going to boil down to? Is Ford a sponsor of this Globe thing? Because if Ford is a sponsor of it, then he really shouldn't, then he's acting out against the company. If they're just posting it just because somebody thought it was an interesting story, that's a little bit different in the corporate environment. That's basically saying, well, it's the same as posting porn on the intranet to this guy with his belief system. And believe me, I'm not saying that he's right. I'm definitely not saying that he's right. But I'm saying that if they're going to force, you can't tell one side that they can voice their opinion and not the other on a public forum. If you offer a public forum and ask for commentary on it, you shouldn't be fired, other than if your commentary is, explicit or something. And it doesn't sound like his commentary was.
I'm going to hazard a guess that Ford probably is a sponsor.
And that does make a difference, and that's what the article's not saying, because if Ford is an official sponsor of this, well, then you really, that's the same as, defamation, I guess. Defamation to the company.
It's basically sort of a roundabout way of going to your boss and taking a dump on his desk and saying, "You're an asshole."
Yeah, well, that would be nice.
But it's basically going to come down to his money versus Ford Motor Company's money.
Yeah, but if some lawyer's trying to make a name for himself, they'll pro bono that shit.
Yeah, the Family Research Council will probably run to his defense or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's going nowhere. But again, it's one of those news stories that gets people fired. It's like total talk radio material.
Yeah, I agree.
It gets people fired up, but in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing.
Except to this guy that isn't getting paid.
Oh, fuck him. He's an engineer. He can go somewhere else.
Yeah, that is true, too.
Not if he's a homophobe. He isn't going to go working anywhere else. It's just not politically acceptable these days. To be honest.
I know a company in my town where he will be offered a corner office suite if he said he hates fags.
Clan Motors is hiring.
No. Let me just put it this way: it's a family-owned company, and the patriarch of the family, they were doing some kind of a charity, some sort of thing at the local high school, some kind of program teaching kids leadership skills or something like that, and they had a graduation ceremony for the program, right? You know the kind of thing I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so he's making a speech at the graduation ceremony for this, leadership academy or whatever the hell it was called, and he totally digresses into this tirade against gay marriage, which has nothing to do with anything. And all the company officials are freaking out at the whole thing, and they're like, "Oh my God, this doesn't leave this room." And pretty soon the patriarch was sort of, he was in his 70s by that point. He was kind of put out to pasture. He was relieved of his official duties because he was making the company look bad.
Right.
In a public forum that had nothing to do with anything. But
was his name Donald Sterling?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Was it Hulk Hogan?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, just
Speaking
asking.
of whom, all I'm going to say about Hulk Hogan is he had plenty of time to learn and study the case of John Rocker.
Was it Paula Dean?
Well, I mean, whatever. He's a fucking wrestler. You don't look to wrestlers for serious brains, do you?
Of course you do. That's where I get all my intel from.
Foley is good, right? Foley is good.
The WWE. That's the place.
Hell yes. Steve Austin is like a Nobel laureate.
He is. Doghouse, the chat room wants to rename you Buzz Killington. Is that okay?
Fuck him, I don't care.
All right, there's the meme of the year right there. 2 moms equals 4 boobs.
Right.
Cool, fine. Go back to posting your porn.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You degenerates.
Fuck you, pal.
All right. Let me see here. In a testimony before the EEOC included in the federal complaint, Rapid Global Business Solutions supervisor Kelsey Rossi acknowledged that Banks' comment was an expression of his religious convictions, but the tone of the comment was discrimination in and of itself, and that's not something that we can protect.
Oh, stop it.
The tone.
The tone of the tweet.
Yeah.
Whatever, the comment.
Right. So not only can they determine, the tone.
Yeah.
The tone is what it ruined it. The message was not the problem. It was just the tone in which it was delivered.
Right. Dude, I'm not getting rich anytime soon with any of these fucking businesses I have, but I'll be goddamned if I'm not thrilled that I do not have to work for any kind of corporate bullshit these days.
I agree, man.
Fuck that. This is such a bunch of shit.
It is. It's just going to get worse.
I know.
Until everything is government owned.
Well, they could buy my business for a lot of money.
Sure.
And then I could sit at home and talk shit.
Well, they're not going to buy you. They're just going to take you over.
No, you can take me over.
According to the lawsuit, Banks supports a diverse and inclusive workplace. Banks respects others, even though he disagrees with them, as he has throughout his career, and merely hopes that the same respect is in return.
Right.
Banks seeks damages for religious discrimination and retaliation under the federal civil rights law, as well as the Michigan's Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act, which prohibits employers from firing or otherwise discriminating against individuals because of religion, race, color, national origin, age, sex, height, weight, and marital status. Wow. Sex, height, weight, or marital status?
Wait.
Yeah. Wait.
Can I start suing people for calling me a fat ass?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll make some money.
Yeah, you need to move to Michigan.
Yeah, I'm moving. I'd like to invoke the fat ass statute, please.
Right. Sexual orientation and gender expression are not protected classes under the state law, despite frequent attempts to amend it. An individual in the Michigan who is fired for being gay would have no legal recourse, unlike Banks. And so there it goes.
Well, I hope he wins, just to really fucking throw a wrench in everybody's fucking, motor.
Oh, I agree. I mean, these type of things are going to just continue coming.
Oh, they're going to keep on coming. This whole religion thing, they've just sort of ignored it, but it's about to fucking fire back.
Well, again, people get into this whole discussion about the same-sex marriage thing.
Right.
And everybody just thinks it's, well, you just hate faggots.
Yeah.
That's always the catch-all right there. Oh, you just hate faggots.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more to it than just same-sex partners. There's more to it, because now it's going to change the law. It's going to invoke lawsuits. Everybody's going to have a problem with it, and this isn't going to be treated the same as it was in this situation, and it's just going to go on and on and on, and it's going to be assault on religious organizations, regardless of how you feel about it or your thoughts on it.
Right.
And it's going to, and people who do business under a certain banner well, you can't do that anymore, and you can't do this, and you're going to have to, and I'm going to sue, and that's where it goes. It's not about two same-sex people just getting married and sharing that.
It should be. It should. That's what it honestly should be. But now, you've got these uppity faggots that want to push it further.
Yeah, of course.
Take next steps. And then you've got the faggot haters that want to push back.
Right.
And, ultimately you're just going to have more divide. That's all it's really going to go to. That I for one, the business thing still fascinates me. That a business would actually come out and say, we're not going to do business with homosexuals.
Right. That
is just stupid. You might as well just say, the black water fountains in the back. It's the same thing.
Right.
What you have to do is you have to position your business so that gays don't want to do business with you.
Exactly.
Just don't offer, like the bakery. We talked about this before, the bakery thing. Just don't offer anything on homosexual.
Yeah, it's just like, well, we don't have that product.
Yeah, we don't have a cake that doesn't have a man and a woman on the top of it. We don't sell that. We don't sell cakes where the names are Bob and Jim.
Right.
We don't. Our cakes, by policy, are one guy's name and one woman's name.
Right.
That's our policy. If you want to buy that cake, then you can. Come on in, faggot.
Right.
My cake. But if not, eat shit. Go to the next guy. And personally, if I owned a bakery, I'd have a sign as big as the window that says, now serving gays. I would take all their fucking money.
Sure. Oh, and dude, faggot is not the preferred nomenclature.
Cocksucker?
Gay American, please.
Oh, gay American?
That's a Lebowski line.